Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Craig Haas. I'm Vice President for the Board for the Iowa Chapter, and it's good to see you all here. It's great to be back in person again. I'm going to introduce to you our speaker this morning for this breakout session, Jessica Schroeder. She is a wife, a mother. She describes herself as a protein-loving, vegetable-obsessed, registered dietitian. She's an avid marathoner and a wanderlusting adventurer, and I have to admit, I spoke with her a little bit last night at dinner, and I'm jealous of the number of stamps she has in her passport for the National Park System. She travels and enjoys hiking and camping, and she is going to talk today about unleashing the power of nutrition in managing your Parkinson's disease. So, a round of applause for Jessica.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. How's the morning going so far? Good? Good. That's awesome. Well, thank you for joining. Craig, thank you for the great introduction. As he said, I thought I would kind of summarize my life right here, and this is pretty much it. My family, I got a son and daughter, and my husband. We love adventure. We just went to the Virgin Islands not too long ago and went scuba diving. I am also a guide for a local business called Wonder Women, so I take women on all types of adventures, and of course an avid marathoner. So my last marathon was in LA back in March. So that's just a little bit about me. I am also the CEO and founder of a local business here in Des Moines called Expedition Wellness. And when I say local, it is local to Des Moines, but we see clients all over the country. So don't let that steer you away. If you are in rural Iowa or you're from another state, we do see clients all over. So especially, I guess if that's one good thing that came from COVID, that's it, is that we are able to connect with people all over. We are female-owned, of course. I'm the owner. We have 5 dietitians right now on staff. We have a wellness coach, and we have an admin assistant. We were established in 2019, so we're just celebrated our 3-year anniversary, which is just super exciting, and how much growth we've had. We have 3 actual satellite locations. We have one here in West Des Moines, actually just down the road. We also have one in Ankeny, and then we have one in eastern Iowa in my hometown of West Liberty, Iowa, which is right around Iowa City. So again, we can fulfill all the needs all over Iowa as needed. We provide personalized meal plans, accountability partnership, and lifestyle coaching. That's really what we are all about. We're going to learn a little bit more about that as far as nutrition goes here. So I want to start out with a quote today. So every human being is the author of their own health or disease. So I want you to really sink that in, and what does that mean to you? What can you do for your own health and your disease? Maybe even think about what obstacles are preventing you from moving forward with some of those things. I always tell people in the nutrition world, most people kind of have an idea of what they should be eating, but what happens? There's a disconnect between the knowledge and the application and the execution of it. Because I think we all kind of know we should be eating vegetables, right? Right? But how many of you do it? Right? Okay, I rest my case. So we're going to talk about how can we apply some of those things. But first, we have to start with some nutrition basics. It's important to understand that we're all on the same level as far as nutrition goes, nutrition knowledge goes, okay? So what I mean by that, how many of you have heard of macros? Quite a few. Do you know what they are? Do you understand them? Because I feel like that word gets thrown around a lot, and most people are like, I don't actually know what they are. So the macros are macronutrients, so there are big nutrients that we get in our diet. So it's going to be carbohydrates, proteins, and fat. Alcohol is also a macronutrient. We're not going to talk about alcohol today, not a whole lot anyways. We're going to focus on these nutritious macros. So we've got carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are important for fueling all of our cells. So we need carbohydrates for energy. That means every single day when you wake up, you need to have some carbohydrates to energize you for the day. That's what they're there for. If you're going to be walking around all day, you need carbohydrates to fuel your body, okay? So carbohydrates are very important for that. Also for our brain and our heart and our brain do not operate properly without a little bit of carbohydrates, okay? So carbs get a lot of bad rap out there. It's really important that you make sure to have at least a small amount of carbohydrates. They also have a good source of fiber, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, and how important that is for battling PD and how much fiber you need to have in a day. And too much will turn into fat. And that's where a lot of our issues with obesity and other problems that the country sees with diabetes and other diseases is that people are consuming too many carbs for what their body needs, okay? Protein. So protein virtually makes up every single cell in our body, okay? Our skin, our muscles, everything depends on protein. But protein is the one macronutrient here that our body cannot completely make. So it's really, really important that we are consuming food that has protein in order to rebuild that every single day. There's research out there that shows that after the age of 40, you start to decrease your abilities to build up muscle and protein and store it. So it's very important that you're consuming that every single day. Fat. Again, fat also gets a bad rap. We do need fat, but we need good fats. We don't need to be eating all animal fats. We need to have plant-based fats, and we're going to talk about what that is here in just a little bit. Fats are also important for helping us absorb vitamins, and we're going to talk about one very specific vitamin, and that's vitamin D. And vitamin D tends to be low with PD patients. So it's important that we're supplementing or we're making sure to eat vitamin D-rich foods. All right, so I'm a very visual person, so you're going to see lots of pictures in this. I love teaching with pictures and actual foods, but it wasn't really practical for me to bring a whole table of food today. And plus, you're going to be eating lunch here really soon, right? So foods that have carbohydrates. So you see there's beans, peas, lentils, which many of you might have never tried or explored before. Whole grains are going to have carbohydrates, so breads, of course, rice, all those different grains. Fruits have carbohydrates. Starchy vegetables. So starchy vegetables are going to be potatoes, peas, corn, especially here in Iowa when we have our sweet corn coming up here in about 2 months. That's a starchy vegetable, okay? So that means it has carbs, but it's a vegetable. And then dairy. So yogurt, milk also have carbohydrates. Now, what else has carbohydrates? I heard you guys had some talk about some chocolate chip cookies earlier. Yeah? So carbohydrates are also in chocolate chip cookies, of course, and all sweets and desserts. So these are the main food groups that I'm bringing up, but of course, almost everything out there is going to have carbohydrates. Salad dressings, sauces, I mean, you name it, everything has carbohydrates. So you do have to be careful. Protein. So beans, peas, lentils also have protein as well as carbs. They're one of those nice balanced foods. Cheese, fish, beef, pork, all the main animal protein, those are going to all have protein, and good quality protein at that. We also have milk and dairy again, also have a lot of protein. And eggs, so also have some protein. Nuts and seeds also have protein. So all good sources of protein there. And whole grains. I shouldn't leave out whole grains with protein. Fat. So here are some good examples of some good fats. So we've got nuts and seeds, we've got salmon, avocados, whole grains again also have some good fats, and then oils that come from plants. Not all plants, but the olive oil, grapeseed extract oil, avocado oil, those are going to be kind of your best and healthiest oils. Okay, so let's transition. Now that we've talked about just some nutrition basics, let's talk about how does that apply to Parkinson's disease. So there really is no prescription for a PD-specific diet, unfortunately. So what we want to talk about is, okay, what are some specific things that affect PD patients that we can, potentially fix nutritionally, and what can we focus on, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about. The thing that is also important to realize is that nutrition is something that you can control. Out of every aspect of your disease, you can't control many things, but you can control what you put in your mouth, right? I tell my patients this all the time. You can't control what the weather is doing in Iowa because it's always going to be something radical and crazy. You can't control that, a friend is mad at you, but you can control what you put in your mouth. And that affects so many parts of this disease as well. So I want you to always remember that. Okay, so what does the research tell us? So these are some specific points that I kind of picked apart from the research to kind of focus on today. So the first one is naturally found antioxidants and phytochemicals play a neuroprotective role. So what does that mean? Well, what foods have antioxidants and phytochemicals? Does anybody know? Can you shout it out? Berries, yep, that's a great example. What else? Leafy greens. So I'm hearing fruits and vegetables, right? Are we catching on to the theme? More fruits and vegetables. So if you go across the screen there, this is pulled from research that in 2019, only 1 in 10 adults were consuming the recommended amount of fruits and vegetables. Well, that doesn't sound good, right? If fruits and vegetables have these neuroprotective roles, shouldn't we be eating more of them? Yes, for sure. So one of the things we're going to be talking about here in just a little bit is how do we execute that? Because remember when I said we all kind of know that we should be eating fruits and vegetables, and here's the research saying, yes, you should be eating fruits and vegetables, but how do we do it? We don't like vegetables. They're hard to cook. We don't know what to do with them. That's what we're going to talk about. Next, in the research, it says falls are a significant cause of disability, loss of independence, and reduced quality of life in PD patients. Okay? Low protein and poor nutritional status can be a large contributing factor to that. It's not everything, because obviously the disease itself causes some of that, but poor nutritional status can be a big part of that. So protein is so important to help prevent that. I can't tell you how many times when I worked in the hospital system, people would come in for falls. And many times it was because they weren't eating the right amount of protein. So that is something that's super important. So when he introduced me and said I'm a protein-loving, vegetable-loving dietitian, that's why. This is so important to our diet and our lives. And the third piece of research I chose to focus on was vitamin D. So low serum vitamin D levels have been associated with increased postural sway and balance issues. That's a big deal, right? So how do we get more vitamin D? So vitamin D supplementation has been shown to improve balance, body sway, and stability. That's a big one. So eating more foods that are high in vitamin D. How do we do that? Well, oops, went a little too fast there. Egg yolks. So eggs in general have a lot of protein. They have vitamin D, and they have other antioxidants. Right there. Eat some eggs, right? Salmon, tuna also have vitamin D. Dairy products also have protein. All these have protein, so you can really double up your nutritional impact by choosing some of these foods. How many of you knew that vitamin D is a sunshine vitamin? Right? So get outside, enjoy the outdoors, and get some sunshine, because that is going to help your body convert into usable vitamin D that your body can actually absorb. Don't skip the protein. We're going to talk about medication interactions with protein. Some of you might be kind of scared or shy to eat the protein because of medication issues. We're going to talk about how to manage that. And then obviously eating more fruits and vegetables. Many of you have probably heard that the Mediterranean diet is one of the most highly recommended diets to follow. I'm not really much of a person that wants to say, here, go follow this diet, but there's a lot of information out there, so if it's something that can help you, I think that's great. So the Mediterranean diet is very high in plant-based foods, healthy oils, obviously fruits and vegetables, and lean proteins. So thinking about olive oils and lots of fruits for desserts, and so not those chocolate chip cookies. However, chocolate chip cookies have a place in everyone's diet. Cheese and yogurt are consumed in moderate amounts. I know some people go a little too crazy with cheese, me being one of them if it's around, so I have to be careful with that. But Again, just very high in fruits and vegetables. So other nutritional challenges with Parkinson's disease. Constipation. So earlier when I mentioned carbohydrates and I said they're high in fiber. Fiber can help with constipation. So when you're having some of these nutritional challenges, increasing your fiber can really help with bowel movements and going to the bathroom. What foods have fiber? Any guesses? Thank you. Exactly. I got you on track here. But also whole grains, beans, peas, lentils also have a lot of fiber, and again, fruits and vegetables. You can also buy a lot of products, and I'm going to show you pictures of actual products. I'm hoping you'll be able to just take this presentation and utilize it. There's a lot of products out there that have added fiber to their foods. So when you're looking for products that you need more fiber, then that's the way to go. An example would be yogurt. So yogurt, you're going to get vitamin D, you're going to get protein, you're going to get calcium, you're going to get fiber. Most yogurts, especially Greek yogurts, have added fiber to them, which is great. Also drinking your water. And this is something I feel like I've talked with my patients about all week long because of the heat and humidity here in Iowa. Water is so important. It's also important for making sure you go to the restroom. So making sure you get at least 64 ounces of water, that's like the least you should be having a day. So if it helps to drink water with your medication and then drink water throughout the day, that's also going to help with dry mouth and swallowing and other issues as well. Speaking of swallowing, difficulty swallowing. Sometimes we need to change or alter our foods in order to help us swallow. Does anybody have issues with swallowing out there? Anybody? A few people? So I know for me, for example, I struggle with turkey, like Thanksgiving turkey. Sometimes I just can't get it down as well. So sometimes I have to add a little extra gravy. So sometimes when you add some extra sauces to those foods, it will help slide down your throat a little bit easier to help with the swallowing process. Also, using more ground meat and steamed vegetables. So if swallowing is an issue, steamed vegetables can be a better option than raw. Loss of appetite and nauseousness. Sometimes shakes and smoothies and liquids kind of help be able to digest the food a little bit better. Bland foods such as rice, potatoes, bread, bananas, and applesauce can also help with that loss of appetite and nauseousness. Okay, so this is a checklist for you to kind of take with you. So feel free to take a picture of it. I'm hoping they're going to have this out on the website as well. But this is a checklist of kind of some things to really focus on moving forward in the execution part of all of this. So I'll give you a minute to just take a quick photo. All right. So, am I able to eat protein while taking my PD meds? The answer is yes, okay? But sometimes it can be a little bit tricky because you have to take it at different times so it doesn't interact with your medication. Some of you might have this interaction, some of you might not. How do you know? Well, your doctor can usually help with that, or if you notice that the medication isn't really taking full effect, then that might be your answer right there, that it's interacting and that you're eating too much protein or too much other foods with your medication. So what's the connection here? Well, protein is broken down into amino acids in the body, and certain amino acids can interfere with the absorption of levodopa. So this only occurs in actually a small subset of people. So I know a lot of people, they think, oh, I'm not supposed to have protein with this medication. But that's not necessarily the case because not everybody has this interaction. So you still need to make sure you're eating protein because remember we talked about the importance of protein and making sure that you stay strong, you rebuild your muscles every day. That's something that's very, very important. So do not leave that out of your diet. If the protein effect has occurred, what we suggest is moving your protein more to the end of the day if needed. So after you've had your doses of medication. Trying to spread it out, which I'm going to give you an example here in just a minute of how to spread it out throughout the day with your medication. But also, protein-rich foods should be consumed about 1 to 2 hours after your dose of medication. Okay? And how do you know if you have this? Trial and error. there is no test to know if you have this, this issue with absorption. So it's just a matter of trial and error, unfortunately. So here's a sample day. And just remember that this is a sample breakdown of what a food med schedule could look like, but make sure you're talking with your doctor too. That's important because this is just a sample dosing, and your doctor probably has more ideas on that as well. But if you look here, really the meals are kind of normal times, right? Breakfast is at 9 a.m., lunch is at noon, 4 p.m. snack, 7:30 dinner. I feel like that's what I recommend to all my clients who don't have PD, right? So again, I'm trying to simplify this for you to show you that you can do this. You can have protein, you can have a normal meal, and take your medications when you need to take them. Consistency is key. Every single one of my clients knows that that is my favorite word, consistency. Consistency is everything. Think about exercise, consistency. Consistency in your marriage, consistency in education, consistency in everything is so important. Consistency with food is even more important, okay? So eating throughout the day and making sure you're consistent with your intake is very important. I know a lot of people who skip breakfast. I know a lot of people who skip lunch. Hopefully none of you, right? You won't be skipping lunch. You'll have lunch right out there, right? But just remember, eating throughout the day is very important, so no skipping meals. So again, the application is what's the hardest, I feel like, for most people. So again, these are just samples of how you could break down your day. So we've got breakfast. Breakfast, the goal is about 15 to 30 grams of protein. So I put grams and ounces. So grams are going to be like if you're eating something that has a food label and you can look at the actual label. You can remember back to this presentation. You can be like, Jess told me to have 15 to 30 grams, and this yogurt has 20 grams. Perfect, right? Or if it's something you need to weigh out, like a meat or a protein that you can weigh out on a scale, that's how you can make sure you're getting enough protein. Plus, you want to have about 1 to 2 servings of a whole grain, dairy or other carbs, such as a fruit, and then a healthy fat. So learning proper portion sizes is really hard, let me tell you. I think that's one of our biggest struggles as Americans is portion size, right? And learning grams and ounces and what all those serving sizes mean, it's really hard because our society confuses everything. And our government confuses everything. So even our nutrition labels are confusing for most people. And that's some of the most basic information that we go over with our clients. It's how to read a nutrition label. I don't have time to go over all of that stuff with you today. So I have just basic numbers for you to be able to take with you and apply. But just know that it's hard. And here are some guidelines for you to follow. So ideas. So again, I put brands and pictures and stuff. By all means, you don't need to use these specific brands, but it's just to help give you some guidance, because I feel like that's where most of my clients struggle, is they want ideas. They want to know what brands to go choose in the grocery store. So a sample breakfast could be a container of yogurt. I chose the Too Good brand. We also oftentimes recommend the Oikos 000 yogurt. That's a great brand. You can find that at Costco, Hy-Vee. You can find that all over. And it also has added fiber. But from your yogurt, you're going to get your protein. You're going to get some vitamin D, some calcium, right, and a healthy carb. I also put some hemp seeds on there because I want to challenge you to maybe try something you've never tried before. Hemp seeds are a great plant-based source of protein, polyunsaturated fats, which are the good fats, and then other micronutrients. And then berries. Add some berries to that yogurt. Mix it all together. That's going to be a nutritious breakfast right there. You're going to get those antioxidants we talked about. You're going to get some healthy carbs, give you energy for the day, and then more fiber. So right there. Does that seem like a pretty easy breakfast? We had something similar out here this morning, right? So very simple. Doesn't need to be complicated to get the nutrients you need. Now, this one's a little bit more kind of out there and fun. Again, I wanted to challenge all of you to try something new, possibly. But avocado toast. It's kind of a popular food these days. So 2 slices of whole grain bread. And how do you know if it's whole grain? Well, it's kind of difficult because, of course, the manufacturers try to trick you and have some tricky labeling on their the bread wrapper. But you can always tell by the fiber content. If it doesn't have any fiber, it's probably not whole grain. And in fact, I love sprouted grain bread because that is going to be even more whole. So if it says whole grain, don't always trust that. Make sure you look at the fiber content first. 2 eggs. So 1 egg has 7 grams of protein. So you need at least 2. If you're going to have a good, complete breakfast, you need to have at least 2 eggs. You can also get that vitamin D from the eggs. So very important right there. Avocados are known for having fiber, healthy carbs, and healthy fats as well. And how many of you have ever heard of the everything but the bagel seasoning? Good, huh? Yeah, it just adds a fun little flavor to just about anything. I love putting it on eggs, honestly. It just has a lot of great flavor to it, and it can jazz up any kind of boring food whatsoever. A lot of people put it on their vegetables. All right, lunch. So what does lunch look like? So lunch should be about 15 to 30 grams of protein, again. So we're trying to be consistent throughout the day and have consistent amounts of protein. So just remember, 15 to 30 grams for every meal, okay? 1 to 2 cups of vegetables, so this is where we're going to try and get some vegetables in for the day. 1 fruit, and some healthy fats. All right, so let's look at what that might look like. So again, I'm trying to challenge you on a few of these things, but one of them, probably the most popular lunches amongst all of our clients, is a taco salad. I have so many clients that love Mexican-style food, and a taco salad just makes for a quick and easy meal where you can get your vegetables, your protein, and some really fun flavors and make the vegetables fun, right? Over here is pictured a chickpea chicken salad. So we talked about how beans, peas, and lentils have a lot of good carbohydrates. They have fiber, healthy fats, all the good stuff. But I feel like as Americans, people are intimidated by beans and peas and lentils because it's just not a part of our typical cuisine. So one of the things I've come across in the past couple years is a chickpea salad. So imagine like a chicken salad, right? But it's made with chickpeas. So it seriously tastes exactly like a chicken salad. It's delicious. But it's a great way to work in some chickpeas and something different besides just your regular old chicken. And by the way, I will have all recipes on our Pinterest page. So for those of you who are familiar with Pinterest, I have our Pinterest handle on the very last slide. And there will be a specific folder there for this conference, and you'll find all the recipes there. If you need any other assistance, please feel free to follow up after. We can send you the link after to make sure you get these recipes. I also included the Mission Carb Balance Tortilla on there because that's probably one of the most popular grains that people like to add to their day, and it has 14 grams of fiber, okay? That's a lot of fiber in one tortilla, and that's really, really important when you're trying to shoot for about 30 grams a day. Okay, so 14 grams just from that tortilla. That's perfect. And all those peppers there, that's probably my most popular lunch vegetable right there. Cut up bell peppers. I love bell peppers. If you ask anybody, you'll see me with a bag of peppers all the time. So I encourage you to try some cut up vegetables, add some color to your lunch, and spread it out throughout the day. If you feel like you can't eat all this food all at once, spread it out, okay? Dinner. So we've got 15 to 30 grams, again, 2 to 4 ounces, so 1 to 2 cups of vegetables, and then 1 to 2 servings of whole grains, dairy, starchy vegetables, or fruit, once again. What does that look like? Well, I included a really easy recipe, and I included this for a purpose because this chicken pesto is super easy, and you just put some pesto. You can even buy the pre-made pesto from like Costco. Put it in the pan, put the chicken in there, put the pesto on top again, put it in the oven, and you're good to go. The pesto helps with swallowing because it's going to help make sure that you have a smooth swallow with the oils. It adds the healthy fats, but you're also getting your protein. So it's putting all the pieces of the puzzle together in this simple recipe, and it's delicious. And for those of you who love leftovers, it gives you leftovers for about 2 to 3 days. Whole grain brown rice to pair with it, so you get some more fiber, add some more calories. For those of you who are struggling to get your calories, this will help with that, plus a good carb, and it's a soft food. And then add some roasted asparagus with it. This is my favorite way to prepare asparagus if it's not on the grill, is just to put it in the oven, just drizzle it with a little bit of olive oil, put some salt and pepper on it, put it in the oven at 400 degrees for about 7 minutes. It's very specific, 7 minutes, and it comes out perfect. So I hear a lot of people say, I don't like asparagus because it gets mushy. That means you've overcooked it, right? A lot of the problem with vegetables getting mushy is people don't know how to prepare it. And that's what we do as dietitians. Our goal is to just help you learn how to prepare these vegetables so that you eat the vegetables, they taste good, and you don't feel deprived. Because I heard you also talked about deprivation when it comes to choosing a vegetable over a chocolate chip cookie. And a lot of that comes from just not knowing how to prepare the vegetables in a fun, tasty way. Okay, so that's a sample dinner. Look at all these dinners. Look at how colorful and beautiful they are. These all include vegetables, protein, and lots of delicious flavors. So the first recipe you're seeing is probably one of our most popular recipes amongst all of our clients. It's called spaghetti pie, and it's made with spaghetti squash, Italian turkey sausage, has a bunch of other vegetables mixed in there. It has some pizza sauce, some spinach, some bell peppers, and it tastes like lasagna. Who doesn't love lasagna? Right? Okay, he doesn't like lasagna. But it's delicious. So you get all that delicious flavor, but you're getting that vegetable, and that's really the most important part of this recipe. The next recipe is another popular recipe. I chose all of our most popular recipes, by the way. This one is a creamy buffalo chicken casserole. So it adds a lot of bang with the buffalo sauce, but it actually has cauliflower in it, cauliflower rice. And it has chicken, and then they serve it with broccoli as a side. And then the last recipe there, I know it's summer and we're not thinking hot foods, but I thought I better include some kind of fall or winter food. And just remind you that you can get a lot of your nutrients from soups and other items like that. It's a great way to just dump a bunch of vegetables in, dump some protein in there, and get all of everything that you need in that meal. And it makes for really easy meal prep. Snacks. So again, we're shooting for about 15 to 30 grams, plus about 1 to 2 servings of carbs. And this is where I feel like people can really improve upon, because most of the time we're just choosing carbs like chips, candy, popcorn, what else? I mean, those are like the typical snacks, right? So we can really pump it up with some protein and doing some nuts and seeds, some tuna, chicken packets with a whole grain cracker. We can do Kind bars, Cliff bars. I put specific brands so you know what to look for in the stores. You can also get your vegetables with this and add some hummus. Hummus are made from chickpeas, in case you didn't know, plus some grapes and a cheese stick. So just remember, it's important to make sure you have a carbohydrate with a protein. That's really key with snacks, because if you just eat the carbs, you're just going to keep eating, right? Anybody guilty of that? The hand just keeps going into the chip bag and doesn't stop. This is also a place where you can get some good nuts, so like pistachios, almonds, trail mix. Those types of things would be great for a snack here. Again, more products. So we're going to transition to, what are some other obstacles that people run into? And I feel like this is also not just for PD patients, but it's for everybody. Everybody struggles with all of these things, and one of them is meal planning. Anybody know why people struggle with it? Why do you struggle with it? What did I hear back there? Time. Yes, that is the number one reason why people don't meal plan. But what's crazy is that if you do meal plan, it actually saves you time in the end. I promise you. But it's a matter of knowing what to prepare, right? I think that's what holds people back from doing it, is that they're like, I don't know what to prepare, and so they just do everything last minute. Well, then last minute turns into going out to eat, or it turns into ordering pizza, or it turns into something like that, right? So one of the things I included up here are these Kevin's meals. They have become one of our most popular items. They're a very clean brand. They prepare their meals through sous vide, which is a practice where they vacuum seal the item, which is a protein, and then they submerge it into hot water, and then that cooks the chicken. And so it preserves it as well because it is vacuum sealed, but they don't add preservatives to it. So that's key. That's really important. And then it comes with some kind of a delicious sauce, and then you can pair that with a rice or a vegetable to make a complete meal. You buy it just like that, and all you have to do is heat it up. Seems easy enough, right? Again, it helps with time, but it provides you with a healthy, nutritious meal. Protein shakes. One of our favorite protein shakes to recommend, and I can tell you 10 out of 10 of my clients love the Fairlife shakes. They taste like a milkshake. They are so, so good. This one in particular has 30 grams of protein. I was drinking one earlier that has 42 grams of protein. So it's a very easy and quick way to get your protein. So time should never be an excuse for not getting your protein. I can tell you that anybody can grab a shake, drink it, and get their protein in very little time, right? So my point with this is that there are lots of convenience items out there, so don't be scared to have convenience items, but it's a matter of knowing which ones are better choices. So that's why we're going over that today. These little chicken packets and tuna packets are always a great thing to have on hand. They're shelf stable. I actually take them backpacking out in the backcountry, so they make for a great way to get your protein. Also, steam in the bag vegetables. If you don't want to buy a bunch of raw vegetables to have on hand because you're afraid you're not going to get them all used up, buy the steam in the bag. They work just as well, and they have all the same nutrients. So make sure you have a mixture of frozen, fresh, and maybe even canned if you like canned. This other brand, Amalu, they also have chicken. They have chicken sausages. They have chicken patties. All kinds of great products. Again, they're another clean brand. They don't have a lot of preservatives added to them, but they taste amazing. And they have these breakfast sausages, and then they also have chicken patties that are frozen that you can just heat up when you want to. The Amalu products you can find at Target, Hy-Vee, and Costco. Those are kind of the main ones, yeah. If they are frozen, yes. I know at Costco they are in the cooler section, so they're not frozen. Yeah, good question. And then I have the roasted chickpeas up there. Again, just another way to incorporate some beans, peas, and lentils. These chickpeas, we also recommend a brand called Bada Bing, Bada Boom. They are broad beans, and so they're a great way to get some fiber, but they have all different flavors that you can buy. They have barbecue, sriracha, like all kinds of flavors. So it's another way to get your beans without feeling like you're eating beans. And so it's just a nice little snack. You can actually make your own, too. There are recipes out there for making your own roasted chickpeas. Hard-boiled eggs. Again, no excuse for not eating eggs. Buy already peeled, made hard-boiled eggs. They're just as good as doing it on your own. And it helps you get the food eaten, right? How many of you have heard of bone broth? Anybody? Yeah. So bone broth can be an easy way, again, to help with the chewing and swallowing issues if you have them, but it's also a way to get some protein. And in the winter, sometimes people will actually just throw some chicken in, like some shredded chicken, like a rotisserie chicken, throw that in with some bone broth, throw in some steam in the bag vegetables, and you've got yourself a little homemade soup without having to go through all the effort of doing too much, right? So again, time is an issue, but that would take 5 minutes to prepare, maybe? So it really can help to have some of these convenience items on hand. A fun little treat. So it's not a chocolate chip cookie, but something else that's fun that has a lot of the nutrients that you're needing to get with PD. So we have a chia seed pudding. How many of you have heard of chia seeds? Maybe, yes. Played with them a little bit. A lot of people are like, well, what do we do with them? A lot of people like to add them to yogurt. Honestly, chia seed pudding is one of my favorite desserts. We have a local gal here in Des Moines who makes chia seed pudding, and she has a food business, and she does all these fun things with it. She makes like a s'mores one. She'll make a shortbread one. She'll make all these different flavors. So I chose this one because it's just kind of a plain vanilla flavor to kind of get you started. But it's very, very easy to make and delicious, but it's a great way to get some fiber from those chia seeds. And have a tasty treat as well that's going to have a nutritional impact versus just a cookie. Okay, so again, this is more like a checklist that you can take with you. I wanted you to have some tips to take home. Meal planning, keep it simple. So have those convenience items plus some other foods. It's grilling season. Throw some foods on the grill. Keep it simple, but get your vegetable and get your protein. Be realistic. I think this is the other thing that most people fail at when they're meal planning is they think that they can make recipes every day. That's not realistic in my life, I can tell you that. So for me, I would rather make maybe 1 to 2 things a week and have leftovers, and then have maybe a convenience item 1 or 2 days as well. Okay, so finding that balance, which is in the end going to help you with that, be successful. Also, have a variety of flavors, textures, and consistency. I feel like, again, this is where people struggle. This time of year, they choose all things grilled. But then they forget that, okay, maybe you might get tired of grilled foods, right? So have some mixtures of different foods in there so you don't get tired of it. And write it down. I know I don't want to generalize here, but a lot of times men are not the ones meal planning. So the women, if you are meal planning, write it down. That is going to help you be successful. A lot of people say, oh, it's in my head. I know what I'm going to do. No, you won't. You will forget. So write it down. I write down my meal plan every Sunday so that we know what we're having for the week, and then that dictates my grocery store order, and we go from there. And especially with the prices of groceries nowadays, this is something that can really help you bring those prices down versus going to the store 2 or 3 times a week. Food tracking. Has anybody out here tracked their foods before? Anybody? One of the things that I love about food tracking is that it teaches you about the foods that you're eating. It's not to make you feel deprived or anything like that. It's to teach you, because most of us don't know how much we're eating or what we're eating. And this is a way, if you're struggling to maintain your weight, this is a way for you to see what you're eating and make sure you're getting enough protein, make sure you're getting enough fiber, because the data is right there. The app that we love to recommend is called Fat Secret, and it has a really great reporting system that allows you to look at your calories, carbs, proteins, fats, fiber, everything. You can also put in recipes. You can see what you've recently eaten. You can scan barcodes, so it makes it super easy. But I highly recommend it if you're struggling. All right, so my challenge to you, Fab 5 right here. Don't fear protein. Make sure you're getting your protein. And I chose to put that sample breakdown in there because I want to make sure you're getting your protein throughout the day. Consistency is key, just remember that. Eat a rainbow. Get lots of colors every week. You should be buying 5 to 6 different vegetables every single week to have in your fridge, have in your freezer, or in your pantry. Get outdoors. This is my other passion. Getting outdoors is so important. And remember earlier we mentioned vitamin D is the sunshine vitamin. Getting outdoors will help you get that vitamin D. It's also good for the soul, so make sure you're getting out there. Get your sleep. Sleep is so underrated sometimes these days because we are just living crazy busy lives, or our minds are just going a million miles a minute. Make sure you're getting your sleep. And drink that 64 ounces of water, another underrated aspect to health. Water is so, so important, especially if you're here in Iowa or, really anywhere across the Midwest in the heat and humidity these days. So important to make sure you're getting above 64 ounces a day. I can tell you every single client that walks in my door, this is their number one struggle, water. So make sure you're getting your water. And if you want to look back at any of the references, they are all there. Get in touch with us. I'll keep this up for a second if anyone wants to take a picture. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. Reach out via email or on our website. We'd be happy to answer any questions. All right, so with that, what questions can I answer from the crowd? Yeah.
What's the difference between soluble and insoluble fiber?
So one of the best ways I like to explain this, so think of like a sponge, okay? or think of a ball that's a sponge. So soluble is going to help make that sponge bigger. Insoluble is going to flow through. So if you're having troubles with your bowel movements, you need to help it flow through, right? So that's why we want to have that insoluble. The soluble is going to help bind it up a little bit. So that's where people have a misconception that all fiber helps you go to the bathroom. Soluble doesn't necessarily do that. Soluble is going to create that sponge effect. So that's the difference. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. For those of you who maybe couldn't hear her question, she asked if I had any tips on getting water throughout the day, as far as like also adding flavor, because I know that's another problem is that some people just don't like to drink water. There are lots of ways to add flavor out there. You can add maybe even like a Propel or Crystal Light packets. You just want to make sure you check those packets to make sure that they don't have added sugars necessarily. You want to just make sure it's like flavoring. That's just a really quick one, but I do love the infused waters. Just adding like a slice of lemon or some cucumber. One of my favorite things is to go to a spa and have cucumber water, right? So adding some cucumber to the water to infuse it can also just change the flavor and add some flavor and help you get your water for the day. One of the things I point out to a lot of people that we don't really think about is what container we're putting our water in. I'm not necessarily promoting plastic water bottles because I also want to save the earth, but it's important to realize why you might not be drinking your water. And one of the things personally that I found out, I used to have a huge stainless steel water bottle, and I realized that I couldn't see how much water I was drinking throughout the day. And that became a problem because I wasn't, like, for me it's visual. I needed to see how much water I was drinking. So with this clear water bottle, I can see how much water I've had for the day. I also think the size of the bottle is very important. So if you're trying to get 64 ounces and you're drinking all teeny tiny water bottles, I'm sorry, but I can't remember if I had 2, 5, 8, 10. You know, it's important to know what you can remember. So for me, I choose 32 ounces. And if I have at least 2 of these a day, I'm doing good, right? There's also 64-ounce bottles out there as well. Sometimes that's helpful as well, because then you just carry the big jug around, and once you get to the bottom, you know you've had your water for the day. So those are a few tips with that as well. I think it's really important for you to realize what kind of container your water's in and what a difference it can make. Yeah, back there. For the menus, yeah, I think they're going to have it on the website. Yep, the APDA website, I believe, is where you'll be able to get all of the speaker presentations and handouts. Yeah. Back there? So when it comes to sodium, here's the thing. We all need about 2,500 milligrams. And unfortunately, the world out there is saying you shouldn't be eating sodium or eating foods that are high in sodium. That's a yes and no answer, because if you're eating like all Big Macs and French fries and things like that, yeah, you want to limit your sodium intake. But if most of your diet is filled with fruits and vegetables and whole grains and things that don't have added sodium to them, it's okay to have like the Costco rotisserie chicken that might have a little bit more sodium infused into it, and that's okay. So just remember that it's a matter of balance when it comes to sodium, and that, yes, some of those processed chicken and meats and whatnot will have some added sodium, but if you're balancing it with the right foods, vegetables, and fruits, you should be okay. Great question, though.
I'm going to sneak right up here and thank my friend Jessica.
Oh.
Thank you. People are coming in for lunch right now, so we have to wrap it up.
We do, absolutely. Thank you, everybody.